My name is Suzanne Linfante, and I'm with the City of Reno City Manager's Office. I currently oversee the city's sustainability program. I would first like to thank the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event today. We appreciate the opportunity to share the plan, progress, goals, and updates with the community. The City of Reno adopted its master plan in 2017 following a multi-year community-based effort to prepare the new master plan known as Reimagine Reno. Throughout the Reimagine Reno process, participants expressed support for the city's sustainability initiatives and a desire for the master plan to take a stronger stance on sustainability. To identify aspirational and yet achievable actions, more than 200 community stakeholders representing a diversity of perspectives came together to develop the city's sustainability plan. We're excited to see the continued momentum here today. Since the plan's approval in July of 2019, an implementation strategy has been developed in alignment with the Reno City Council 2020 through 2025 strategic plan. Each of the goals under the 9 priorities were broken down into operational priorities, other or community-based priorities, short-term city-supported goals, and long-term city-supported goals. There has also been significant progress made under the plan, demonstrating our commitment to lead by example. In an effort to address low-carbon buildings and infrastructure, the city set and met its water reduction goal and continues to address a 20% energy reduction goal. This is mostly achieved through benchmarking and lighting projects, and we're beginning to focus on necessary behavioral changes as well in order to adopt a more strategic energy management plan. We also recently concluded an in-depth analysis of several sites for EV charging infrastructure. The analysis included energy modeling, cost modeling, and rate evaluations. By engaging in this process, we were able to identify at least 3 new sites for infrastructure. We have partnered with One Truckee River to address vegetation management constraints and are nearing completion of that study. The city is underway with a solar and storage valuation study with NREL and other local partners and co-authored a published government renewable energy expansion paper. The paper outlines the strategy for a city to set and achieve its renewable energy goals. Lastly, we completed a connectivity assessment which will inform our future master planning decisions around micromobility expansion. In an effort to create more healthy, resilient, and sustainable communities, the city has addressed several areas including waste reduction. Prior to the pandemic, the city was beginning a stakeholder process on a proposed special events waste diversion guide, and we convened a multifamily recycling group. Additional achievements include an audit and proposed efficient technologies of the new public safety center, and we're in our 2nd year of our benchmarking ordinance reporting. Our urban forester is working on a priority planting area plan using heat map and demographic data. Our Parks and Recreation staff is part of the Farmers Market Voucher Program for low-income persons. Our Climate Resiliency Advisory Committee is growing and is addressing priority number 9. The city was asked to be part of the State Greenhouse Gas Emissions Working Group, and we will be featured in the state climate strategy for our recent efforts to create public-private partnerships around climate issues. As you can see, however, we can't do this alone. There are several goals under the plan that will need to be supported and often led by members of the community just like you, primarily in strengthening climate resilience and carving a path towards zero waste. A thorough analysis of existing efforts and progress is needed to ensure we're all coming together under the same goals, as well as thoughtful discussions around policy changes. We think you will enjoy today's lineup and look forward to working with each of you as we move forward with the plan.
Hi, I'm Olsen with Intuit, a member of our local sustainability team, as well as a member of our marketing operations group. Intuit's announcing a new prerogative, 50x by 30. Our vision is to give back more than we take by powering prosperity through sustainability around the world. What is climate change and why does it matter? Greenhouse gas emissions are at an all-time high. Humans are creating this problem, and that means we must solve it. The buildup of carbon dioxide and other heat-trapping gases like methane and nitrous oxide are already impacting climate systems across the planet. What does the science say? Global greenhouse gas emissions need to drop by 45% from their 2010 levels by 2030 and reach net zero by 2050. Intuit's done an exceptional job of reaching this goal inside of our own 4 walls. As of April 2020, we've reduced our operational footprint by over 50%, and 100% of our electricity comes from renewable sources. We accomplished this 10 years earlier than what the climate scientists recommend. What if we looked outside of the 4 walls of our company, combine our mission, strengths, and our values to give back more than we take? Instead of doing less bad, we could use our strengths to help the broader world transition to a sustainable, climate-safe future by helping our stakeholders reduce their carbon footprints while powering their prosperity. Intuit's mission to power prosperity around the world is directly linked to the health of our planet. We cannot have one without the other. Intuit's bold new goal is 50x by 30. Intuit will reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 2 million metric tons. This is 50 times greater than Intuit's 2018 operational carbon footprint of 40,000 metric tons. The 4 pillars for our 50x by 30 initiative are our employees, our communities, our customers, and our partners. For our employees, we are looking at sustainability offerings within Intuit and our wellness benefit. For our customers, we are looking at small business sustainability marketplace, data-driven in-product sustainability solutions, and a small business sustainable supply chain and shipping service. For our communities, which include our physical locations and our prosperity hubs, we are looking at renewable electricity for communities and schools, energy efficiency for communities and schools, and zero waste efforts. Our partners pillar is broken into 2 key areas. For our strategic partners, the initiatives we're exploring are a partnership with Enactus on Global Climate Action Challenge, renewable energy for virtual care center employees, and regenerative agricultural support for small farmers. For our small businesses, we are looking at support for small business sustainable shipping startup Sendle, support for small business carbon calculator, support for food donation startup Copia, and helping scale refrigerant management with global partner Tradewater.
Hi, my name is Barb Santner. I'm a senior landscape architect and planner with Stantec here in Reno. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak today about building healthy urban forests. With the goal of reducing the urban heat island effect in Reno, we have worked to develop several strategies to grow healthier, more mature-sized trees in the urban forest. Several elements are important in building healthy urban forests. One is providing uncompacted soil. Trees require adequate uncompacted soil volume for root growth to reach mature size. The challenge in providing uncompacted soils is primarily in urban environments when trees are placed beneath paving systems such as in sidewalk tree wells and plazas. The volume of soil required ranges based on the mature tree canopy size. Recently, the City of Reno adopted standards to address this, and the soil volume recommended can be up to 800 cubic feet per tree. Several strategies are available to provide soil volume beneath paving systems, including suspended pavements or soil cell systems. These are proprietary systems such as silvacells, where a system of platforms supports the paving. Soil mixtures are placed below the platforms and are uncompacted, allowing for excellent aeration and root growth. This is the system that was recently used in the RTC Virginia Street Midtown project. Another system for providing uncompacted soils is called sand-based structural soils. This is a non-proprietary system of clean sand with an organic component that can be made locally. The sand mixture is placed beneath pavements and is compacted to approximately 80%, allowing for some aeration and root growth. This system does not provide the level of uncompacted soils as the suspended paving system. However, it is better than a typical planting with no consideration of soil volume. This was used on several Reno projects, including the Silver Legacy streetscapes and most recently the Virginia Street Bridge streetscape. Another aspect of growing healthy urban trees is water. Reno receives only 7.5 inches of annual precipitation, and we are in a semi-arid environment. Virtually all urban tree species in Reno require supplemental water for survival. Reno is unique in this regard compared to other semi-arid cities of the West. Boise, Salt Lake City, and Denver all receive nearly twice the annual precipitation of Reno. Therefore, providing water to trees from the time of planting to maturity is required for our Reno trees to reach maturity. Most commonly, drip irrigation is installed to irrigate trees only adequate to supply water to immature trees, particularly in commercial developments. Additional water and extended drip irrigation is not often provided as trees mature. The result is that many of our urban trees do not reach maturity. New planting details are available now with a drip system that has two components. The first system has tubing to water trees at the immature size, with a second system that's fit with extended tubing and emitters. That system is also installed at the time of planting and can easily be turned on as the tree grows larger. This is a new detail developed for the City of Reno in collaboration with the Northern Nevada ASLA chapter and was installed at the RTC South Virginia Midtown project for the first time. It will also be used for the upcoming RTC Audie Wells streetscape project that Stantec is designing. Another aspect of providing water is capturing stormwater. Our limited annual precipitation can be used to water trees. Through the careful collaboration of landscape architects and civil engineers, we can divert stormwater that falls on parking lots, sidewalks, and streets into parking strips and planters to benefit trees and landscaping. This type of design is called low-impact development. This water is particularly important for urban trees and landscaping because much of our annual precipitation falls in the winter months when irrigation systems are turned off. During a dry winter, we often receive public service announcements from the Extension Service reminding us to water our trees. When we divert stormwater from pavements into planters, we provide winter watering. We have designed these kinds of systems in recent projects. At our Virginia City Visitor Center, we diverted parking lot stormwater through curb cuts into planters with landscaping, including trees. Additionally, we placed sand-based structural soil beneath the paving and walking surfaces to allow for tree root growth. At our Austin, Nevada Visitor Center, we diverted roof drainage and plaza surface drainage into planters that contain trees and shrubs, enhancing the water availability to plants. Finally, another aspect of growing healthy urban trees is to reduce the heat directly around the tree. Inert mulches are required on the ground in planters by our local agencies for commercial developments. Most commonly, rock and/or decomposed granite mulches are used. However, these mulches are significantly hotter than organic mulches such as wood chips or bark and can be as much as 10 degrees hotter than rock. Therefore, we advocate for the use of organic mulches at least 50% of the ground surface area in order to reduce the heat island effect around trees and reduce the heat directly around our trees, which will enhance their growth. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you today.
Hello, I'm Nicole Lamboley, President and CEO of the Food Bank of Northern Nevada. Thank you for allowing me to be here today to share with you how the Food Bank is contributing to the vision of building healthy, resilient, and sustainable communities. Since 1983, the Food Bank has been meeting the need of those who face hunger in our community. Our vision is simple: healthy food, every person, every day. And this supports the City of Reno's Sustainability and Climate Action Plan. Priority number 7, access to fresh and healthy foods. That really speaks to our vision. We address food insecurity through collaboration with 147 partners, school pantries, expanding access to federal nutrition programs, and advancing policies that increase access to food. But who is food insecure and in need of food assistance? Prior to the COVID pandemic, we were already seeing the number of food insecure people in our area steadily increasing. In fiscal year 19, we were serving on average 91,000 people. But with rising housing prices, cost of health care, wage stagnation, and other cost of living challenges, household budgets were stretched, and those seeking food assistance rose to nearly 102,000. But the pandemic pushed more people into needing food assistance, and nearly 50% of our new clients reported seeking food assistance for the very first time. Today, we are helping over 106,000 people per month. But the figures are grim. Feeding America, our national network of 200 food banks around the country, reports that we can expect in Nevada to see nearly a 7% increase in the number of people who are food insecure. And for children, that number is even higher. We jumped from number 9 in the nation on child food insecurity to number 1, tied with the state of Louisiana. So we have our work cut out for us. But you might ask, how do we help such a significant number of people? This last year, we distributed nearly 23.5 million pounds of food. That's a significant increase, nearly 44% increase over the 2 years prior to this year. And of that, we are pleased to report that nearly 7.5 million pounds were fresh produce. We do have a commitment to fresh produce. Fresh produce is nearly 40% of all our total distribution. And Mobile Harvest is a direct service program that distributes perishable food into high-need neighborhoods so that all people have access to this fresh produce. Mobile Harvest became vital during the pandemic. Previously, we were serving 7,100 people per month through our Mobile Harvest distributions, but during COVID, it became a way to move a lot of food quickly and safely. We instituted drive-through methods. This allowed us to help, in the month of April, 28,000 people. The food bank also helps minimize food waste by partnering with local grocers and other food resourcers. We rescue or recover millions of pounds of food that may otherwise end up in the landfill. This food is healthy food, it is valuable food, and it is just the food we need to make sure that our clients have access to fresh food, perishable items such as milk, dairy, fresh produce, fruits, and vegetables. It is also our obligation to make sure that not only are we providing food, but we are providing nutrition education. We focus on educating our clients, our partners, on why nutrition matters. We have healthy pantry nudges, which helps clients choose healthy food options. We partner with 3 local healthcare providers in piloting a program for the last 3 years on prescription pantries. Prescription pantries are a great way for us to connect with patients who have diabetes, hypertension, and high blood pressure. They get a prescription for food from their local healthcare provider, and they are able to access healthy food through our partner agencies. We also provide a variety of nutrition education to people of all ages. We have Smart Shopper for families, we have nutrition education for children, and we have seniors eating well. This year, as we close out 2020, we've launched a campaign, Portraits for Produce. Our goal, to have 2,020 donors contribute $20, which will help us provide 340,000 pounds of fresh produce. You can learn more at fbnn.org. Thank you for allowing me to share with you our vision of healthy food for every person, every day. We remain committed to addressing the food needs of those in our community who suffer from food insecurity. As we continue to meet the challenges of the pandemic, you can be assured that the Food Bank of Northern Nevada is here to support all efforts to make sure that no one goes to bed hungry in our community. Thank you.
I'm John Zimmerman, Water Resources Manager for the Truckee Meadows Water Authority. At Tumwa, we're all dedicated to providing the highest quality water in as efficient a way as possible. As we all know, living in Northern Nevada, we're going to live through periods of wet and dry years. In order to provide a reliable water supply, we need an innovative water resource planning strategy and conservation. In the Truckee Meadows community, the cities of Reno and Sparks and Washoe County control growth. Tumwa's role is to ensure that there are sufficient water resources available for that growth. At Tumwa, we say that growth pays for growth. That means that new development must bring sufficient water rights for their project and also pay for all infrastructure costs to bring water to their project. As part of Tumwa's recent water resource planning effort, we surveyed the public regarding the most important water-related topics to them. The top 3 were population growth, the current and future state of Tumwa's water supply, climate change, and drought. At Tumwa, we use conjunctive use management of our water resources, which means we use surface water during wet years, and then in dry years we rely on upstream storage and groundwater, more groundwater pumping. We also use conservation and demand management practices. Those include education and outreach to our customers, also Water Watcher program, where we have seasonal Ottumwa employees driving around the community trying to educate the public on smart water use. We also have an inverted tiered rate structure that sends a price signal so that the more water you use, you pay a higher amount. And then we also have a water usage review program that allows homeowners and businesses to have an expert come to their home or business and give them water saving techniques and help them investigate any potential water leaks on their property. We also have supply management. We have a robust capital improvement program that ensures that the water infrastructure is improved and able to deliver water in as efficient a manner as possible. So this slide shows that Ottumwa's customers' annual per capita water use is declining in the last 20 years. This is due in large part to our customers' water use ethic and Ottumwa's conservation messaging. Ottumwa also has a tiered conservation practice where we respond to conservation messaging depending on the severity of a drought. So in normal years, we have standard conservation messaging, and then in drought years, we use enhanced conservation messaging. Ottumwa is responding to climate change by modeling and forecasting how climate change will impact our future water supplies. Under historical drought scenarios, there are no shortages. Upstream storage never drops below 40,000 acre feet, and that really highlights the importance of the Truckee River Operating Agreement that manages how water is used off the Truckee River. We also looked at and modeled climate change scenarios and found that Ottumwa has a fairly robust water supply under even some of the more serious and severe climate change scenarios. Ottumwa has several adaptive management strategies. One is working with the Bureau of Reclamation to retime how upstream reservoirs are operated. This may allow Ottumwa to store water earlier in the runoff season to combat the effects of climate change, which show that water will run off earlier in the season. We also use a groundwater banking approach to allow us to rest our wells when there's surface water available and to rely on those wells more heavily during times of drought. Ottumwa has also constructed a water treatment plant off Whites Creek that will allow us to use creek resources when they're available to deliver water to customers or to recharge our groundwater wells. We're also working with other stakeholders on advanced purified reclaimed water pilot studies to study using treated wastewater that's treated to drinking water standards and injected into the ground, and to use that as a water bank for future use. We're also employing advanced metering infrastructure and other technologies to allow us to track water usage more closely and to give our customers greater knowledge of their water use. With that, I'll end my presentation. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me or go to our website, www.ottumwa.com.
Today I am going to speak to you all about how resilience to wildfire indeed is being resilient to climate change. My name is Christina Restaino. I am an assistant professor at the University of Nevada, Reno Cooperative Extension, and I work specifically trying to help communities be more prepared for living with the eventuality of wildfire in our communities. So it's important to start out and think about the concept that we live in ecosystems where we naturally should expect to have wildfire. Historically, there used to be a significant amount of fire that occurred on the landscape, and we constantly struggle with this concept of good fire and bad fire, and that we need a certain amount of wildfire and prescribed fire to occur in order to make our ecosystems and communities more prepared for the eventuality of a larger wildfire that would come through. And so with this context, we also have to think about climate change and how climate change is fueling wildfires throughout the West. And here's how. Due to climate change, we're experiencing higher temperatures in the summer and in the winter. And this is causing snow to melt sooner, where we're actually seeing that winter snowpack on peaks in the mountains is melting out up to 4 weeks earlier than it previously has. What this is doing is it's causing ecosystems to be drier longer in the summer and in the fall. And so what actually happens is that the fuels are primed and ready to burn if an ignition occurs. So what is happening is that we're actually seeing, due to that priming of fuels and fuels drying out, we're seeing that wildfires are indeed getting worse, and that they're becoming larger and more expensive, and that the emissions from these fires are actually worsening global warming by putting more particulate matter in the atmosphere and then causing the temperatures to rise even more, etc. And so there's certainly a feedback loop where we're seeing that higher temperatures are contributing to wildfires occurring and getting larger, and the wildfires themselves are contributing to climate change. We're also seeing that the cost of wildfire is increasing significantly, which has a huge impact on our communities and our capacity to adapt to climate change, because a lot of the budget is being reallocated to really having to deal with these large destructive wildfires. We're also using a significant amount of water resources to suppress fires, where we already have scarce resources in this region to begin with. And then due to climate change, we're actually going to start to see significant reductions in water availability over time, and having large, gigantic wildfires that use that water only exacerbates that problem. And then, of course, there are significant ecological impacts to having large, gigantic fires that are expensive and lead to a significant need for more mitigation work on the landscape to rehab those ecosystems as well. And so it is increasingly important for us to understand how to adapt and live with the eventuality of having wildland fire in our ecosystems. And so at UNR Extension, I work a lot with local agencies and community leaders and partners that are trying to create this concept of fire-adapted communities. And this is incredibly important because, as I've said, we expect that we will always have wildland fire as part of our ecosystems, and our landscapes and our communities are located within these ecosystems that naturally burn over time. And so we really need to be thinking about what we as communities can do to be more prepared for the eventuality of fire. So there are 8 different spokes on this wheel, as you can see, and a big piece of that is community engagement. And so making sure that communities are meeting regularly to think about what they can do to live more safely with the eventuality of having a large fire around your community. And also community mitigation, where actually communities are doing defensible space and considering the construction components that their homes and properties are made out of, and thinking about how flammable they are, and really trying to take precautions to create communities that can withstand a fire if it is to enter the community through doing your defensible space and home hardening actions. These actions actually make it more safe and cheaper and easier for actual response to wildfire to occur. And so this is why it's very important for communities to be thinking about what we can do to adapt to fire so that all of our communities can be more resilient and have plans in place so that folks can be prepared when there's a disruption due to smoke or due to closures, due to fire, that there are plans in place of how local communities can be prepared for those possible disruptions. So when you have time, I suggest you look through this whole wheel and think about what steps you can take to really work on creating a fire-adapted community where you live. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me and go to our site online where there are a lot of amazing resources to learn about how to become more prepared. Thank you.